Welcome to From the Den podcast, providing Bears and NFL fans alike with compelling news, discussion, and debate. I'm your co-host Benjamin, joined alongside my dear friend and co-host Oren.
Hey Benjamin, let's get right into it. As always, kickoff starts now.
On to pick 226 in the 7th round. They picked Arlington Hambright, offensive lineman out of Colorado. So I have to give this pick a B- because I think that first of all, he can play guard, which is what the Bears need. They need more competition at guard. And Bobby Massey and Charles Leno aren't amazing, and they're getting older. So you might end up needing to replace them. And I'm not saying that 7th round pick will replace them, but being able to have competition behind them will elevate their play. But what I will say is he can go to play offensive lineman, and my reason I'm giving this a lower grade is in a B- is that they needed an offensive lineman and they only waited till the 7th round to take them. And if they were really confident in Arlington Hambright and Latavius Simmons, then I get it. But I really, really, really doubt that if they were that confident in these two players, that they wouldn't select them in the 5th or 6th round. Because if they think that these two players can compete for the starting offensive guard position, even take over, because I know that I don't think the Bears should be comfortable with either Rashad Coward, Jermaine Ifedi, or Alex Bars starting. I don't know anything about Alex Bars because he really didn't show that much when he played a few snaps in the Week 17 Vikings game. But I think that if they were really that confident in those three players, then there's a serious problem with their ability to tell how good their players are. And that's why I give this a B-. Not because I like the Arlington Hambright pick, and I think that he shows a lot of potential. And he's a big player. He's 6'5", and he'll be able to help the Bears. But I'm not sure that he'll be able to help the Bears enough to the point that they won't regret not taking an offensive lineman in the 2nd round or in the 5th round.
Yeah, I agree with that mostly. I'm going to give this pick a B because at least they did address that need eventually. But for the same reasons that you were saying, that's why I didn't give him a higher pick. That I think they should have taken a lineman a lot earlier in this draft rather than waiting until the last two picks to take a lineman. I think a lot of the picks that were taken earlier were less of a necessity, and they still ended up being taken before these linemen. As for Arlington Hambright as a player, I think he's pretty talented. He shows potential, like you were saying. I think they might have reached on him, but at this point in the 7th round, it doesn't really matter that much. So it wasn't a big factor in my decision to give him a B. Not really much else to say about that player.
Yeah, so now let's go on to the last pick of the Bears draft, which is ironically only one pick after the 226th pick where they picked Arlington Hambright. They picked another offensive lineman, Latavius Simmons, offensive tackle out of Tennessee State. And in college, he played multiple positions. He played left tackle, right guard, and left guard. He's a big guy, 6'5", just the same exact height as Arlington Hambright. And I think that, again, this is kind of the same thing. I'm going to give this a B- because I think these two picks are very similar. I think they're very similar players. I think that they both have potential to be pretty solid. But the only reason why I'm not giving this a higher grade is because the Bears should have addressed this position earlier. They really, really, really need an offensive lineman. And I think that most of their offensive problems come from three positions last year: offensive line, tight end, and quarterback. And this offseason, they addressed tight end where they signed Jimmy Graham and they drafted Cole Kmet. They traded for Nick Foles. So those two positions were addressed. And the offensive line wasn't really addressed. I get that they added Jermaine Ifedi, but he's not really someone who will be able to upgrade your offensive line from last year. And Ryan Pace is very adamant that the new offensive line coach, Juan Castillo, will be able to elevate them. But I'm not really sure that the coach will be able to elevate them as much as a player will. And I think that a coach might be able to elevate a player's game to a good amount, but I'm not sure that even that the coach should have been able to elevate that whole offensive line. Then the 5th round guard should have been a better pick than a 7th round guard.
Yeah, to your point, if the Bears are not going to make any big signing of an offensive lineman in the offseason, then a Bears fan has to think, oh, well, the Bears are going to be taking a lot of offensive linemen early in this draft. But that's really not what played out here. They only took offensive linemen with their final two picks in the 7th round. So that's just a little confusing to me why they would not have any big signings in the offseason and then only take 2 7th-round picks to improve their offensive line when clearly it's one of the positions that they need to improve most if they want to be successful in 2020. As for the player himself, Latavius Simmons, for the same reason that you gave the last 2 picks B minuses, I'm going to give him a B, as I also gave Arlington Hambread a B. Basically the same arguments that have already been said. I don't hate the player too much. It was their last pick, so it doesn't really matter about value. They can take whoever they want. And aside from that, I like I said, I like Latavius Simmons. I just don't understand why they wouldn't take players earlier, and that's why I gave both of those guys Bs.
If you enjoyed this episode of From the Den, please remember to subscribe, comment, and like this video.
Or, if you're a Packers fan, remember to dislike and leave a nasty comment. Click the links on the screen to access additional content.